So this is my April update, April 2019, on my orchids. And I started with this area because this is where the most action is, most stuff happening with my orchids. The most exciting part of this update is I discovered spikes on my Dendrobium jenkinsii. I think that's what it is, the spikes. Yeah, so this is the only Dendrobium that I had in here for the winter to give it a rest. I was keeping it very dry and it was standing right here on the windowsill. Very bright conditions, and I think it was pretty cold here because of the frost outside. So this Dendrobium spent time during winter cold and dry. And I think that's the result. I have little spikes. The next change is that I brought this two Dendrobiums, Anosmum and Aphyllum. Here I took it out of tank because, well, since that Dendrobium jenkinsii grew and is blooming here, then I thought this two should be here too. So they're hanging here. And again, for the winter time, I will probably move them closer to the window glass to make it even colder. And for now, they're here in a bright light, getting watered. So Dendrobium anosmum is variegated and it's growing a new bulb. But Dendrobium aphyllum is not growing anything. It lost the leaves, just sitting there. I don't know what's gonna happen with it. Another new thing that I'm having here is a new growth on my Catasetum. Catasetum Orchiglade Jack of Diamonds. So it started new growth. The bulbs are pretty dehydrated, so I'm watering it a little bit from time to time, but the new growth is growing. My vandas moved out of the tank, whichever vandas were in a tank for the winter. They are out here now, and this is Sanderiana, and last fall I moved her into basket, but then I realized that she doesn't like basket. I don't know, I can't explain how I know it, I just know it. It doesn't like the basket, because in other orchids, like you can see, they're growing roots that are grabbing onto basket, and roots like the basket, like that one and this one here. See their roots growing on the basket. But with Sanderiana, it didn't like grabbing onto basket, and it seemed like all the roots that touched the basket gone brown. So she lost some roots. I moved her back to a clay pot, but it's good that it's spring, so she might grow more roots during summer. So not every vanda likes the basket, or maybe this particular one doesn't, I don't know, but I changed it. My beautiful Rachel Diana still has blooms. They got a bit darker since they opened and bigger. They're huge and nicely tessellated. I really like them. Now about the bad stuff that is happening. I started fertilizing my orchids recently, like few months, and I started to fertilize them on a schedule, once a week. And vandas and phalaenopsis and others were okay with it, but my Bulbopyllums absolutely hated it. So they started to develop this brown tips on the leaves. And I think it is from fertilizing, because that's the only thing that changed. Last winter and spring and summer, I did not fertilize them. Like maybe once in 3 months or a couple times. And they were fine, they had beautiful healthy leaves. Now I started to fertilize, and that's what happened. And some have bigger patches, some have smaller ones. Seeing that, I stopped fertilizing my Bulbopyllums, and I cut on fertilizing for my vandas just in case, because maybe they don't like it too, but they just don't complain. I don't know. Now I decided to do it for vandas like once in 2 weeks, and for Bulbopyllums I'll just stop for now. They were fine without fertilizing. Maybe that's what they like. So I think that's about it for this area. My Neophanetes are sitting on the windowsills. I decided to grow them on the windowsills. See what's gonna happen. And now I should rethink my potting method, because when I was potting them, I meant for them to be in humid tank, and I put mesh pot inside so they don't go wet for too long. But now they're drying out in like 2 days. So every 2-3 days I need to water them, which might be a good thing, so they're not overwatered, they dry quickly, but I don't know if I can keep up with this. And here's Cattleyas Mindstar. She opened all the blooms, and they're still holding. She's here in our home office where we can appreciate her. Such wonderful blooms. Okay, now let's see what's new here in my tank. First of all, I gave in and let my Cattleyas to move back here. They were not happy. They used to be inside of tank when they were smaller, but then I decided that they're too large for this place, and I moved them out, and since then they were like sulking and not happy and not really growing well. So I moved them here quite a while ago, a few weeks ago, and they are growing now. See, each and every of them growing something new. This one is already large. This is Leopoldii, and here's the Walkeriana Kenny. So each of them is growing new bulb. So I'll see. They have perfect conditions now. It's warm, it's humid. They're potted in nice and cozy coconut chips. And we'll see if they will do good here and maybe bloom for me. The next thing I wanted to record is this Dendrobium lodigesii. It started to grow their new cakeys or new growth on the old bulbs, which is good. But I also noticed this strange growth here. It's like roots at the end of the cane. That's weird. So, I'm not sure it's an awkward position. Like, I think it's growing cakey, but then what, it's gonna hang there? And there's another one doing the same. So I'm thinking maybe I should mount it. Then it can just proceed with those cakeys being on the mount. Maybe it will be not as awkward to grow. So this one is going to be mounted soon when I have time, maybe on the weekend. Dendrobium lodigazii. I discovered a new spike. A new spike appeared on my Aeranthes ramosa. And interesting that it does not need any light, any bright light to produce the spike. See, it's in a very, very shaded area. It used to be on the top shelf with a lot of light, and I noticed here the yellow leaf. I burned it. I burned the leaves. So I decided to move it here to grow some new green fresh leaves, which it did actually. There's a new leaf growing, but it also gave me a spike, which I did not expect. So this one is blooming in the shade. Aeranthes ramosa. Another thing that changed, remember recently I made a video about my little plants growing in the moss and how nice it looked, the green moss around the plants, and I was so happy. Well, after some while, moss became very invasive, and this little plant here was completely taken over. Moss actually grew on the top. There was another growth there, but moss grew on the top of it and completely rotted it. So I removed the moss. I removed the moss and repotted them. And well, that was not a good idea. Moss good on large plants probably, but when the plants are miniature, moss can easily bully them. So there's no more moss in my little containers with miniatures. Now you notice that large vandas are not here anymore, but I still have the smaller vandas here, my vanda seedlings. And I kept this one here because this is vanda concolor. I kept it here because there was not much space in there, and I'd like her to grow more roots. So vanda concolor still here. And I potted I basketed my vanda tricolor seedlings into one large basket, hoping that they will grow big and bloom all at the same time, which could make a good display. I'm not sure if it'll work or not. And also my Brunea Guangzhou seedlings are doing great. This is one of the bigger ones. It has its own basket right now. I also have some in little community basket. There are 3 little ones, and in the pots. So those are my Vanda Brunea Guangzhou that I just did last fall. So all of them are growing new roots, new leaves, and doing great. Now here's the bad thing. This is the Scabrilingue, Dendrobium Scabrilingue that I bought at the show, and it was in a plastic, wrapped in a plastic, and I didn't notice, but the bulb was actually cracked. So when I started repotting, it kind of broke, came apart. So I don't know what's gonna happen. And I noticed that the bulbs are yellowing where the roots are, and there's no really roots. I'm keeping it in a damp moss. I put some cinnamon on the wound here and here, and I'm keeping it on a damp moss, but that's probably just wasted money. I don't know if it's gonna live or die. We'll see. My Dendrobium senile is growing new growth, and finally I see the root. I never saw roots on this plant. They were very short and buried in moss, but now I see the root. So I'm thinking maybe I will bring it out where the other Dendrobiums are, where my mounted Dendrobiums are. Maybe it will be good there, hanging together with them. And here's my Javanica. So there are 2 blooms here on the first spike, 2 blooms and a bud. And the second spike has 2 buds. So there's a lot of blooming going on this little plant. I love it a lot. That's fall Javanica. It's too bad that the flowers looking down. It's a very shy plant. So that's my April update. I am waiting for this spike to develop and give me beautiful green transparent bloom that Aeranthes has. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.